Ah,
A very good morning and welcome to WishwaTalks. My name is Trishan and I thank you all for attending today's event. For those of you who have attended a WishwaTalk before, a warm welcome back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, here's a little bit about us. WishwaTalks is a space to expand the horizons of your mind. Every webinar, we call experts from different domains to discuss and examine opinions, issues, problems, and perspectives. Each webinar is an interactive session where we all walk away with more respect for each other and a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss a session, please visit our website or YouTube channel for a full library of past Wishful Talks on interesting topics. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and enthusiasm that I introduce our distinguished keynote speaker for today's Wishful Talks. Ms. Sadia Hurzer, a remarkable individual whose dedication and expertise have left an indelible mark in the realm of dementia care and research. She is not only a program manager, but also a distinguished psychologist at the Alzheimer's and Related Disorder Society of India, ARDSI, Hyderabad Deccan chapter. Her commitment to the cause of dementia is evident through her extensive background. As an early career research, she contributed to the strengthening responses to dementia in developing countries. Stride in Short project, a collaboration between the London School of Economics, NIMHANS, and ARDSI. She holds an MSc in Dementia Studies from the University of Stirling and boasts over a decade of professional experience in diverse settings such as hospitals, daycares, and memory clinics. She has played she has played a pivotal role. She has played a pivotal role in various research studies championing person-centered approaches in dementia care and advocating for the benefits of cognitive stimulating activities for those living with dementia. Her research, her recent contribution to the book Dementia Care, published by Springer with a chapter on rehabilitation in dementia care, underscores her invaluable insights. Beyond her academic achievements, Satyajit is a passionate advocate for dementia awareness across India, making her a beacon of inspiration in our community. We eagerly anticipate the wisdom and knowledge she will share with us today as we delve into the world of dementia care and research. Please join me in giving a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Ms. Sadia Hurzer. Before we get started, I'd like to inform our audience that our speaker will be taking questions from you after the main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat or raise a hand and we will allow you to ask your question in person. I request everyone to turn on your webcam for the interactive activities. Now, without further ado, I invite our speaker to begin today's Wishful Talk. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Such a lovely morning and such a lovely thing to see. Wonderful crowd. Like I am overwhelmed to see so many people joining in. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Vishwa Talks, and thank you, Trishant, Radhika. So without taking much of your time, I will just start with the presentation. You can see my slide, right? Perfect. Okay. So a very warm welcome, people, to this session. Let's see how much we get in depth with this. So starting with what is dementia, we will, is my slide changing? Yeah. So just to give you an overview, what we are going to go through today is to make you understand, to give you insight on what is dementia, what are the warning signs, how to identify, and what are the care pathways, like when someone gets these warning signs or symptoms of dementia, how to identify and what to do after that. And then for normal people, like what are the preventions, what are the risk factors to understand, like, how we can prevent dementia for ourselves. So, and of course, a little bit about what we are doing right now. We are one novel organization in the state itself who is providing services for dementia. So before starting my slides, Trishant, sorry, there are a lot of people trying to join in. Is there a way you can do it, or I have to admit them? I'm sorry, I
We'll
can't.
be admitting them. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
We'll be
perfect.
admitting.
Thank you. All right. So, yeah. So this is what we are going to go through today. And here we start. So when we talk about dementia, it's like, okay, there is memory loss. So why are memories so important to us? We are actually our memories. What if we just completely go blank out? What are we going to be left with? If we don't remember what we are, what is my name, who I am, what is my background, what time, or what is the orientation, and where am I from, I lose the individuality, I lose that self, I lose the entire environment I am in. So we are our memories makes us, and that is why it is so important to have the memories intact. And to give you an example, this is on the screen, you can see a healthy memory and a failing memory. So if we lose our memories, this is exactly happens. And that was what happens in dementia. So let's see what exactly is dementia. So when we talk about dementia, there are a lot of myths, there are misconceptions. People say that, oh, it is a aging thing. It is part of aging. It is something like, there are a lot of demeaning or tabooness or stigma associated with it, where people will say that, oh, that old man has just gone mad. Or they will have a lot of myths about it. They will say this is destiny. They will say that, okay, this is something like, they are just pretending. There is a lot about dementia that we really need to understand. First thing to start with, this is a neuropsychological disorder. That means it's a medical thing. We need, the more we as general public understand about what is dementia, we will be able to help the society. We will be able to help ourselves. How? I'm going to talk about that. So what exactly is dementia? As we all know, dementia starts with memory loss. But memory loss is exactly a tip of iceberg. Dementia has a set of symptoms under that memory loss or under that iceberg. So dementia is an umbrella term described for a range of symptoms associated with cognitive impairment, like thinking, judgment, understanding, orientation, language, speech, so many things. They all come under cognitive impairment. And dementia is a disorder which has all this range of symptoms. So as you see on this screen, so there are different types of diseases that causes dementia. Alzheimer's is the very common one, and a very common word also that we know. Other than that, in India, we have a lot of vascular dementia, which is like post-stroke. Then we have Lewy body frontotemporal. Always remember, dementia is very complex disorder because it starts from the brain, and brain is the most complex thing in the body. So what happens? As I said, memory loss, forgetting, and other cognitive issues. It covers a range of physical diseases like Alzheimer's or frontotemporal disease. Then dementia is very progressive in nature. It keeps on increasing, and eventually it is terminal. It affects generally older population, but in many cases, or earlier we used to say it's a rare case that somebody under 60 would get dementia. But now, unfortunately, in the last 1 month, I have seen like 3 to 4 cases who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So it is not anymore where we say that, oh, it is only a aging. Yes, predominantly it is, but there are a lot of young onset dementias that we are seeing nowadays. There was a study done it was a survey done in Hyderabad from NIMS, Nizam's Institute, which said that there are about like 50,000 plus people living with dementia in Hyderabad alone. So why have we not heard of them? What is the reason that even though the number is so high? So to bring it to your point, this survey was done in 2013, and by now this number has doubled. So of course, it's something around a lakh. Difficult to say what the exact number is. But my question to everyone is, being in a memory clinic, being in a dementia center, why are we not seeing these 50,000 people? Okay, forget it. Let's say 50% of it. 25,000 people? No, not even that. There is a very less number that actually comes to the services. Why? Because there is so much of stigma attached to it. Another thing that I want to highlight about dementia is there is something called reversible causes also. So before we get into the depth of what is dementia and the irreversible causes of it, we need to keep this in mind. There are a lot of conditions which will show dementia-like symptoms. It could be due to psychiatric disorders. It could be because of depression or certain viral infection, or certain medicines will have memory loss and cognitive impairments. Brain tumor can lead to memory loss or some metabolic disorders. And in a lot of cases, vitamin B12 deficiencies. Now, if these symptoms are treated at the right time with medication, they are reversed. So they will show dementia-like symptoms, but these are the set of symptoms that can be reversed. So always keep in mind that not everything is dementia that it looks to us, because maybe after the session, every time there is a memory loss in us or we forget our keys, we will start thinking that, oh, am I getting dementia? That's not the case. So we need to understand very well that how to identify or what exactly starts dementia, right? So as I said, that Alzheimer's is a very common thing, a common disease that so it is overall 70 to 80% of dementia that Alzheimer's people will be there. So Alzheimer's is a disease of brain, and that causes symptoms like memory loss, and that is exactly dementia. So it is not part of normal aging. One thing that we really need to understand that it is noticeable it starts with forgetfulness, but it's severe enough to affect the activity of daily living. Other symptoms include confusion, getting lost, misplacing things, trouble in speaking, language, comprehension, writing, etc. So so dementia was something which comprises of 70 to 80%. My mistake. Alzheimer's is something that comprises 70 to 80% of dementia. The other kinds of dementia that we see is vascular dementia, which is led after stroke. So that will have of course, it will have memory loss, but the other things are like there can be paralysis, there can be motor issues, there can be speech issues. So it will have a different set of symptoms additional to dementia, and there are about 20% of these cases that we get to see. It is very common in India. Maybe we get to see these most because there is a lot of very high cardiovascular issues in the society. Then comes frontotemporal. Even though it is only 2% of dementia cases, it is the most tricky, and it is very tricky even to diagnose, and even it can get so complex to manage also. So I think frontotemporal is from the complex of dementia, it is the most complex one. Also Lewy body, which is 4% of the cases. Because they are so complex, it gets a little difficult for even for the doctors also to diagnose at the right time. And that is a very common global issue where, because the symptom starts in a very slow and a different manner. It generally starts with the behavioral issues, and that's why a lot of diagnoses are misled. So I just said that there is a difference between normal aging and dementia. So to give you some examples, normal forgetfulness is something that we all go through it. Like we will forget where I have kept keys, where I have kept my certain, daily things, or sometimes we also forget to keep, say, switch off the switches or gas stove or things. But we are able to retrace it. We are able to retrack that, okay, when was the last I came home? Where is the possibility I must have kept the keys? Whereas, for example, for Alzheimer's or dementia, they will completely forget that event altogether, that they have kept the keys. And there's a high possibility that, they will forget the concepts of things. So they may keep keys somewhere like in the most unusual places, like fridge or microwave or even washing machines, because they are forgetting the concepts. So, and they're not able to retrace the step. So like how a normal person would think that, oh, I came home and then I must have kept it there, I generally keep it here. So we are able to rationalize and trace it back as a normal people. Whereas in dementia, because they lose the short-term memory, they lose the concept of things, they will misplace things in very unusual things, where, that is a very big warning sign that, where you see maybe footwear in fridge, the concepts are so abnormal, as they are, as there is a manifestation of these cognitive impairments. So, for example, like, somebody has traveled from a different city via plane, and there is a high possibility a dementia person would completely forget that event altogether, or even forget that, oh, I am in Hyderabad, or I came from Delhi, or what medium, or what travel mode did I take. So they will completely forget the event, whereas a normal person will forget a part of it, and we are able to trace it back. So I'm sure you can hear the background noise. So welcome to the festivals happening. And so some warning signs that we all should know about dementia is memory loss that affects day-to-day abilities. For example, like a housewife who has cooked all throughout her life, but suddenly she's not even able to make tea, a cup of tea. So, these are the common thing that we do day to day. Someone who has done over the years and suddenly having difficulties to do something like that familiar. Difficulty performing familiar tasks. As I said, making a tea. Problems with language. Some people having name finding difficulties. So they will be like, oh, I went there and I had that. And like, where exactly did you go? And they're not able to recall. So that is the name finding difficulty. That is an example of problem with language, but there's a high possibility somebody will have a complete loss of language ability, where they're not able to understand or comprehend what the other person is saying. Disorientation to time and place, like they're confused that there are so many lights on in the room, so they may get confused that is it night or day. Whereas, we are able to have a normal person will have a short-term memory to come, quickly understand that, oh, I just had my breakfast, I came here, it must be like 11 o'clock by now. Whereas a dementia person would be like, there's so many lights on, maybe it's late at night. And that's how their brain will start working. So I'm just trying to give you how to judge, how to differentiate between a normal and warning signs. There's an impaired judgment. Impaired judgment could be something as small as like not able to understand that how much salt to put in the food, or the salt is missing from the food, or how hot the cup of tea is, or how to cross the road at the right time. So there is they will lose their judgment, problem solving with abstract thinking, misplacing things, keep on searching things over and over. There's a mood and behavior changes. In some cases, there is complete personality change. Someone who was a very calm person or someone who was a very social person is suddenly becomes very aloof, or suddenly has a very aggressive talk, or is inappropriate social behavior, and loss of initiative where they don't want to do anything. They're just sitting. So there is a lot of reason why there is a loss of initiative. Maybe they are so confused, or there is no memory, short-term memory, or they have a very good insight that they are forgetting. So they will, gradually withdraw that I know, because they have an insight that I am forgetting something, I'm not doing it right, I'm not able to judge, I'm not able to speak. So gradually they will withdraw from their daily living, and they will ideally sit in a corner and not do anything. So that is loss of initiative. So we need to know these warning signs very well so that we can identify other people. And once we identify, then starts a whole new journey. So what to do when someone has these symptoms that we just spoke about? So first thing, you identify the symptoms. First thing what you have to do is go to a doctor. You have to go to either a neurologist, a psychiatrist, or a physician, someone who understands dementia very well. So first step is consultation with a doctor. The doctor will generally then give advice for cognitive assessments, which are paper pen tests, where a psychologist or a neuropsychologist would do paper pen tests to understand the cognitive abilities or the behavioral issues. Based on that report, again, the psychologist or whoever has done this assessment, they will send it back to the doctor. And based on this report, the doctor will again ask for maybe some blood tests or scans, MRI scan, CT scan, based on whatever the doctor feels that is needed to understand what, and eventually a diagnosis of dementia will be given by the doctor. Then what happens? Then there is the treatment of for the person with dementia. When we talk about treatment, one thing is sadly that there is no cure for dementia. There are no medicines that are going to cure, but there are medicines that will slow down the progression of dementia. There are medicines that are very symptomatic. So for behavioral issues or certain issues, or for sleep, or any other issues related to dementia, the doctor will prescribe medicines, and those medicines are something that are must to be taken. So on the slide, you can see like it's divided into three. One is the medical treatment that your doctor prescribes. The other one is non-pharma intervention, which is basically therapies. And that is something must as equal to the medicines. So it is like your the therapy that we are talking. So the therapy could be cognitive stimulation therapy, meaningful activities, or there are a lot of therapies. I'll talk a little later about that. Then there is, for the person with dementia, there are these interventions like therapies. And the other thing is like daycare, residential care. So these are the things that all comes under the care for dementia. The last column that you see is for the caregiver. So once the diagnosis is given to the person, it is the start of a journey, not only for the person with dementia, it is a start of a journey for the family altogether. So what happens? So the same chart, I have put it over here. Now, the last column that we are talking about is for the family caregiver, the one who provides constant care for this person with dementia, because they need that kind of a care. It is not just that they are just losing the memory, they are losing their function, freedom, independence. So there is a need of a person, a carer, to 24/7 look after this person with dementia. So who is a caregiver? Generally, in our culture in India, it is the family who provides care. It could be a spouse, it could be a child, or it could be the in-laws, say daughter-in-law, or it could be some relative who is providing this care. So one person in the family will automatically fall into the category of primary caregiver. So what happens to this caregiver? They have to provide the care 24 hours. And the other term that is used generally in developed countries is unpaid care, because they are doing a full-time job and nobody is actually paying them. Paying doesn't mean always in money, but it is an unpaid care that they are providing for another person. Keeping in mind that this caregiver is a family person, has their own family, has their own job, has a lot of other responsibilities, maybe towards children, maybe towards their own spouse. So it is like completely taking care of another person. So a caregiver has to go through a training of dementia so that they understand what are the symptoms, what is going to happen to the person, what are the different stages. In every stage, there are different set of symptoms, how to manage, what are the services that are available. So it is a complete additional burden to the person who is taking care or providing care. They themselves need a lot of support and counseling because they are overwhelmed with this kind of work. And then it's like they have to manage their self and the person with dementia and burden. When we talk about burden, it is not only just the physical burden, it is a lot of emotional burden and, of course, a lot of financial burden. Dementia is a very expensive disease because in our culture or in our society, it is everything out of pocket expenditure for the dementia care, and it happens at home. So just to give you an insight that dementia span, it's different. So each of these diseases that we talked about, Alzheimer's, frontotemporal, vascular, they will have a different span of disease or different lifespan after the diagnosis is done. And in that particular span, we can divide it mainly into three stages, which is early stage, middle stage, and late stage. So in early stages, as the word sounds, they will have mild problems like memory loss, difficulty thinking around language, poor orientation, visual issues, then mood and emotional changes. In middle stage, or what I would call moderate to severe stage, it is very noticeable symptom, and this is the point where we actually get to see a lot of people, because families have a lot of issues in the moderate to severe stage, because the symptoms are so noticeable and they are hindering not only for the person with dementia but for the entire family. And that's the time, unfortunately, that's the time most of the families will come either for a diagnosis or for some support. Eventually it should be a ideally it should be a early diagnosis, because that's the time where we can do a lot of intervention and the caregiver will also have a lot of time to understand. Whereas when people come in middle stage or in severe stage, it gets really very difficult, even for the service providers also. So one thing why we are talking so much about dementia, so that we get early stages, so that people get early diagnosis. So coming back to middle stage, understanding of the middle stage of dementia, it will have a lot of behavioral issues. So ideally, if the, for the diagnosis, if a person has started with a neuro support or from a neurologist, ideally in this stage, they would need a lot of psychiatric help and psychiatric medications, because there's a very high behavior and psychological symptoms in dementia. And these are so high that even the family is not able to manage at home. This is the time when they need a lot of additional support, like support what we are providing, or paid carers, or like assisted living. Then comes the late stage. Middle stage can be something around 2 to 4 years, depending on the type of the disease. And then the late stage is mainly where there is a complete memory loss. Only the autobiographical memory is remained, or they will have very basic memory. The language, communication, it's absolutely impaired, and there is not much communication other than like one or two sentences. Loss of motor skills, that means like there is a complete dependency on the other person or on the carer for every little thing, from eating, from going to the bathroom, or any basic thing. And imagine how complex it can get. You want to go to, like, say, a person with dementia wants to simply want to walk out and go in the garden, but they are not able to communicate, but they want other people to understand you. What happens that because there is just no communication, verbal or even non-verbal, they will get very restless. They will get that boredom, and then that can cause more of the behavioral or psychological issues. So as the stages also increases, the complexity of the whole thing also increases. As it sounds late stage, eventually it will be end of life care, which is more like palliative care that will be needed. So the person will have, like, loss of swallowing, loss of motor skills, where the body also starts forgetting the functions. So loss of recognition of familiar people, where they are not even like able to recognize spouses. So that's the cruelty of this disease, unfortunately. But I think it is very important for us to understand the depth of what happens in dementia. And as the last point says, that end of life care. End of life care can also be a good span. For some people, it could be a couple of months. For some people, it could be 2 to 3 years also. So when we are talking about all this care, it is financially also a big issue for the family. First, they have to provide everything, like from the care, maybe a tender at home, maybe nurse at home. And then this is like, we're talking about, it's not like, we're talking about years. So early stage could be like 2 to 3 years, then middle stage could be 2 to 4 years, and then it could be again late stage. So it all piles up to approx 5 to 6 years on average. But as I said, the diseases, based on the diseases, the span can change. So I just mentioned about behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia. This generally happens in the very second stage, or moderate to severe stage. So as it's a neuropsychological issue, there are a lot of agitation, hallucinations, depression, delusion. These are the things that happen. But in dementia, there are a lot more of these behavior issues other than the neuropsychological challenges. There's something called wandering. So there is a restlessness that the person with dementia will develop, and they will keep on walking out, or they will keep on going out of house. So, and they will always say, I want to go home. So that is wandering. There's perseverance, where they will keep on repeating. There's aggression, lack of inhibition. There's a social inappropriate behavior. They hide, because there's so much short-term memory loss. They hide things, or they lose things, and then there is a blaming towards other. A very complex and interesting symptom is sundowning. As the sun starts to set down, a lot of people with dementia will have a lot of anxiety, restlessness, and then starts that I want to go home. So these are the behavioral and psychological symptoms. In a lot of cases, medical support helps, but other than that, there are non-pharma therapies like all these things that are mentioned over here, starting with cognitive stimulation, which is brain activity, and other therapies like reminiscence therapy, pet therapy, music therapy, art therapy, speech therapy. All this will help them at least to cut down the challenging behavior, to slow down the progression, and it will provide social support. It will give, like, all these behavioral interventions will help to calm the person. So what exactly is cognitive stimulation? It is nothing but brain exercise. It is meaningful activities based on the person. So we incorporate something called person-centered care, which is a holistic approach where you understand the person, you understand their culture, their background, their from what professions they are coming from, and based on that, then you give them, and of course the current abilities due to dementia, then you provide them these cognitive stimulation or brain activities. So it basically helps to slow down the progression of dementia. It gives positive feelings. It helps in verbal and non-verbal communication. It maintains, it helps to maintain their independence and daily abilities. It improves the confidence in the person. It helps to manage these challenging behaviors, which we spoke about just now. And eventually, it improves the quality of life of the person with dementia and also the family person. So why are we talking so much about dementia? One thing I feel that we never think that dementia can happen to us or dementia can happen in our family. It should never, it should never happen, but we never think like that. So a reality check is that India has about 8.8 million people living with dementia currently. This was a study published in 2022 from Delhi AIMS. So they are reporting 8.8 million people. That's a huge, huge number. Sadly, in India or a lower middle income country like India, we have only 10% of this number which ever gets a diagnosis, treatment, or care. And to remind you again, the Hyderabad survey said that there are more than 50,000 people. That number, I take it personally, that it has doubled by now. So where are these people? What is exactly happening? They are mostly taken care at home. We have very few services or centers for dementia. Why? We have a very low awareness of dementia. There is generally a lot of stigma associated, which eventually delays the diagnosis. Nobody will take a 60-plus-year-old to a doctor saying that, oh, because they are just blaming me that I didn't give them breakfast, or they are just misplacing things. So we don't know what is dementia, and that is delaying us from the diagnosis. There are very few memory clinics and services, as I just mentioned. There are lack of dementia specialized professional in the country. Then it is out of pocket expenditure. Predominantly, the family provides the long-term care. So the long-term care, we just saw the span of the disease. It could be 5 years, 10 years, and it is all out of the family's expense. There is an insufficient number of long-term care in the country. And as I said, there is only 10% of the actual. So recently, last year, they have quoted a number, which is like 35,000, that is, you can see it is 3,500 crores. So that's a huge number actually. That is the cost, societal cost in India. I remember in US, they quoted to $1 trillion industry for dementia care. So, it is a hidden pandemic that we are not talking about. Give you a little more insight. You can see on the picture, on the slide, this is the 8.8 million people, and the services that we have got is less than 1,000. I was part of a report for Dementia India, and that was to be submitted for the government. So I can quote it very well. The number less than 1,000 is a very neutral number that we have quoted over here. It's actually less than 50. So imagine having less than 50 daycare, less than 50 residential care, and very, very few memory cares for the 8.8 million people. So we have a huge burden, but we don't have services. Why? Because we don't have a lot of awareness also. Not a lot of people know about it. And by this, one of these, like how WishwaTalks is helping us for this platform, This is a way we are trying our best to reach out to people. So as a normal public or a general public, as you and me sitting here and listening to it, how can we prevent dementia? Studies says that there are 40% of these cases that can be prevented by addressing these lifestyle modification factors. So the Lancet study has published that there are lifestyle modifications that will help by 40%. So what do we do? What do you and I should do? See, if you go to any doctor, they will say the same thing. They'll say exercise regularly, adopt a healthy diet, take time to de-stress yourself, get sufficient sleep. Also, the Lancet study says that increase your education, learn new language, have physical activity. Generally in our culture, we would say that, oh, I'm already 40 and 50. Why should I go run, jog and all? This is not my age. This is a very cultural based bias. We need to come out of it and actually start thinking that age is just a number, and what we do right now matters a lot that will happen to us down the line. So there are a lot of studies that say that dementia just shows the symptom after the 60s, whereas dementia actually sets in 30s and 40s. A very recent study also says that inactivity in young children can cause dementia in younger age. So we need to be very careful of what we are doing, what sort of lifestyle we have right now. I think adopting all these good lifestyle habits will help us to prevent dementia. Eventually, it is to control your diabetes, hypertension, control obesity, smoking, mental health, exercise regularly, control the alcohol intake, wear helmets, please. Head injury can be a major reason for dementia. And of course, the environment we live in. So we can prevent dementia, yes. Risk factors. I think I have just gone through the risk factors. These are the 12 risk factors published by WHO that can help us to prevent dementia. So ARDSI. What is ARDSI? ARDSI, who are we? We are Alzheimer's and Related Disorders Society of India. We were established in 2008, and since then we've been campaigning for dementia in Hyderabad. So there are a couple of services that we provide, and I would like to highlight a little bit on that. So to think about, like, the care pathway, what should a person do if they have identified warning signs? They need to go to a doctor. So we run a memory clinic where we provide a paper pen tests, neuropsychological assessments, and which helps in diagnosis, treatment, and counseling. So you need to reach out to memory clinics. Most of the hospitals will have memory clinics, this is an example of the one we provide. We also do monthly caregivers meeting, that is a support for the family. So every month we will do either a webinar or in person, where we try to do a theme-based meeting to make people understand how to manage symptoms or all the other challenges that they are facing. And we also have quite a huge network of family caregivers, and our motto is to help them as best as we can. Dementia daycare. So dementia daycare is based on person-centered approach, which is a holistic approach in dementia care, where we provide cognitive stimulation, physical activities, caregiver support as respite, where the patient can spend the whole day at our center. And we do a lot of therapies, like I mentioned, like reminiscence, pet therapy, aromatherapy, all that will help them to, to slow down the progression of dementia. We also run something called virtual cognitive stimulation program for people who are not able to come to the center. We provide home visits for the families or for the person who's living at home, where we try to understand their environment, and then we suggest what improvements or what modifications should be done for the freedom or for the person with dementia, so that it doesn't affect their day-to-day life, as the abilities are not helping or are not are disturbing them for the activities of daily living. Then we have dementia care training. So we are affiliated with Alzheimer's Disease International, which has a headquarters in London. And ADI, through ADI, we provide dementia care skills training, which is a DCS program for paid attenders or caregivers or dementia professionals or other medical professionals. We also do student internships where we have a lot of college students coming and doing internship programs with us. We are also part of research and literature where we have published quite some research, especially for the COVID and dementia. And so we have already published two of them, and the third one is in pipeline. So we are actively into research. We participate in a lot of international conferences. We run this helpline, which we call it ZBCHA. It's a WhatsApp group, and by now there are some 200 participants, which means like 200 families. So they get a constant support over this WhatsApp platform. There are a lot of stakeholders like dementia experts, doctors, psychologists, who are available online to help and support the family caregiver for their queries related to dementia care. We advocate and we have launched this campaign, which is called Dementia Friendly Communities Hyderabad, where we do a lot of dementia awareness, like going to gated communities or medical college or other colleges, schools, and other platforms where it will be like elder care or senior citizen forum. And we try to do dementia awareness so that more and more people are aware of dementia and they try to get the early diagnosis. Advocacy, we've been trying to reach out to the local authorities and government so that we can have at least the state level policy for dementia. And we've been trying for some time. There are networks that we have collaborated with. So you can be part of us. You can definitely try to help us in dementia friendly communities. You can help us for the awareness, help us to reach out to the right person, network and partnership. You can be a volunteer, you can help us with donations or raise funds. You can help overall, because as you see that there is so much need for dementia care in our community. The numbers are so high, whereas the services are so less. So I request you all to come forward and help us in every possible way, or help the dementia person know, or at least the families know that, they need a diagnosis. It's a medical issue. It is not just like a normal aging. So these are some of the events that we did recently as part of our awareness drive and campaign. So we have been to rural areas where we did memory screening camps. We have been to gated communities for these screening camps so that people get early diagnosis. We have done a memory walk. We have done, basically we are available for any platform where there is an audience to listen to us and to, because eventually it will help one and all to know what is dementia and what are the services available. So thank you so much. Thank you, WishwaTalks and the team for this opportunity. And I'm happy to take the questions from the audience.
Thank you so much for this insightful webinar. Ma'am, I request you to stop sharing the screen. The session was very insightful indeed. Before we move to the Q&A, I would now like to request the audience to take 30 seconds to answer a poll for us. The purpose of the poll is to help us understand you a little better so that we can curate the topics that we bring to you. You can also let us know in the chat box how you found out about WishwaTalks. If you are a WishwaTalks subscriber, heard about it through friends or family, or found out about it on social media. While you take the survey, I would like to express my gratitude to everybody who has joined us today for their presence and interactive contribution to making this webinar a success. I extend my gratitude to our respected speaker, Ms. Sadia Hulzuk, for taking time to grace the event, and to all the participants and Wishwa. I'd like to mention a little bit more about Wishwa. our mission and how you can contribute. Wishwa is an online platform for everyday change makers and social champions. It's a crowdfunding and crowdsourcing platform that is aimed at helping anyone find the support they need in their efforts to fulfill dreams for themselves and for others, and in the process, make the world a better place. In addition to thought-provoking talks such as the one hosted today, we also want to extend the curiosity for exploration to our youth and young ones as well. We have launched two new segments of WishwaTalks, namely WishwaTalks Youth and WishwaTalks Junior, to facilitate learning and important conversations in the bright minds of the new generation. Stay up to date when we launch our future talks for youth and junior programs by subscribing to our emailers or checking up regularly on our website. Subscribe your schools and children to WishwaTalks Junior today. You can Vishwa Materials is a crowdsourcing platform promoting sharing and caring within local communities. You can list your unused items on vishwa.org, let others request them, and enjoy decluttering while helping others in need, all for free. Minimize waste and maximize community support with Vishwa Materials. You can also choose to donate your laptop for the computer education workshops conducted by Vishwa. At Vishwa, we are dedicated to empowering the underprivileged youth of Hyderabad's slum areas through free computer education workshops. We believe that every young person deserves the opportunity to become job ready regardless of their background. That's why we are thrilled to share the success of our computer training programs in Rajendra Nagar, Tangtur, Sheikpet, MG Nagar, Basti. You can also be a part of this incredible mission by donating your laptop to the Vishwa Skill Development Project. Your generous contributions will not only help students acquire essential computer skills, but also transform their lives in a meaningful way. Your action has the power to make a genuine and lasting impact on the students' futures. Join us today, and together, let's create a brighter future for these deserving youth. You can find the links for the campaigns in the chat box. I'd like to give you an update about the upcoming Wishwa Talks. On 21st of October 2023, 11 a.m., we have Ratika Iyer Thalati, yogini and founder of Ra Foundation, and Anahata Organics. The topic is Introduction to the Devi, the Sacred Feminine. The talk on 28th October 2023, 11 a.m. is by the speaker Jay Vyas, and this is for the cause Human Rights and Social Welfare. Jay Vyas is the convener of Gujarat for the National Hawker Federation, and he's going to be talking about street vendor rights and also how street vendors are one of the largest businesses in our country and how they contribute to the country's economy. Lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to Vishwa Talks to get alerts on every new and exciting talk, exclusive event, and access to the Vishwa community. I'd like to now initiate the Q&A session. And the first question is by Jyoti Iyer. I just I request you to unmute yourself, and also if you can start the video. Hello, ma'am.
Hello. My father is a pediatrician, age is 88. He's completely forgot his profession, everything, and not able to recognize. And we are facing it very difficult to meet with his needs. And every day he is not able to do. And now, after Corona, my husband is 65. He is forgetting things slowly and becoming aggressive. So I don't want to see my husband as my father. So what are all the things I can help him to come out of this at this 65?
Hello, ma'am. Yeah.
Hello.
So, yeah, I get your point that there is like a memory loss and aggression in your spouse who is 65, I believe. Yeah. So, the first thing I would suggest that you need to go to a doctor you need to, speak either to a neurologist and get a checkup done. Now, the reason why we need the checkup is because there's a high possibility there could be some other factor that is causing it. There's definitely a factor that is causing memory loss or aggression. So we need to first identify rather than jumping the gun that, oh, it sounds like dementia. Please never do that unless and until you have got a proper diagnosis from the doctor, because there's a high possibility it could be due to maybe a vitamin deficiency or some other reason or some other medical condition. So it's
Excuse
better.
me, that after corona, it increased.
Yeah. So it's better to go to a doctor and then, take it further. If you need help, I think they are happy to share our email address. You can reach out to us. But first, I would suggest that you see a doctor and then come to us. I hope that helps.
Moving on to the next question. I'd like to unmute Shmuel. Hello, Shmuel.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I
can hear you.
Okay. I want to ask you what, according to you, need to be a role of authorities in effective treatment in people with dementia from poor and low-income populations, low-income groups of population.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Could you just
I
repeat?
can
Yeah.
I kind
Yes,
of rephrase?
please.
He's asking what would be an effective treatment method for dementia for people from poorer families or socially backward masses.
That's a very
Am I right, Shmuel?
Yeah. This is
okay.
my question.
So this is a very tricky thing. And to be honest, we are talking about so much cost and everything involved. Yes, this is something that I face daily in my daily practice every day. That we do suggest that, okay, get a attender, get an assisted living. It is very expensive. But then when we are talking also about the non-pharma interventions, okay, we talked about so much of therapies, cognitive stimulation, meaningful activities. So for the people who are, it's not to be differentiated. This treatment is for everyone. But someone who is not able to get additional financial aid or something, or a caregiver somewhere, they have a lot of things that can be done. First thing is to understand the symptoms and how to manage it. So, there is every symptom has a particular way to manage, like it could be sleep, it could be any neuropsychiatric issue or aggression, and the other therapies. So the common therapies that I listed out, the cognitive stimulation, meaningful activities, this will help to slow down the progression and manage the challenging behavior. And I do know a lot of people who are not able to provide a lot of medical treatment and they have just followed this model. So there is a model of care that can definitely help for, say, poor people or even rural people. And there's a lot of social integration that is needed that helps to manage the symptoms. So yes, it is a very expensive disease, but there are people who are not able to afford. There are ways that without having further financial burden, there is a model that can be incorporated to care.
I hope that answers your question, Shmuel. Thank you so much for the
Yeah,
interaction.
of course. Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask a question before I move to the next one. Is dementia, can it be caused through genetics by any chance or through the genes we inherit?
Yes, certain types of dementia can be genetic and inherited. So nowadays there are a lot of these genetic tests available in a lot of hospitals. I think in our society it is generally a little expensive to get the genetic test, but then it is like a probability, and it's not that everybody will get it. Because if you try to think about it, the causes of it or the risk factors, there's so many, like hypertension, diabetes, or head injuries, tumors. So not everything will get genetically, inherited. So, but yes, there are certain types of dementia that are very genetic, and they are called familial. So something like frontotemporal, or but again, not all the FTD cases will be genetic. Some of them will be.
Thank you so much. Next question is from Jay Bharati Basroor. How is amnesia different from dementia?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I saw this question. Thanks for asking this question. So amnesia it could be a temporary memory loss, or it could be due to certain thing or something. I will put it into the reversible causes. If the cause is treated, it is a possibility that the symptom will go. Whereas dementia is irreversible. There is a pathology in the brain where the brain, there is a progression. So that is dementia and irreversible. That means it will keep on increasing. Whereas, so that's why it is best to go to a doctor to understand, is the person having just a temporary memory loss or a long-term memory loss? So long-term or basically a terminal illness. So this is where we really need to go to a doctor, and we can't just sit and say that, oh, it looks like this person has dementia. So amnesia can be something like a very short-term kind of a thing that can be treated, whereas dementia can't.
Thank you. I'd like to unmute Morgan. Hello, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible? Can you? I can't hear you, sir. Can you please try speaking? Still can't hear you.
Sorry, sir, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Could you please write the question in the chat box, and I'll bring it up soon.
That'll be great if you can write it in the chat box. Perfect. Meanwhile,
I'll move on to the next question. Meanwhile, the next question is from Swati. Is dementia associated with Parkinson's?
Yeah, so this is something, some cases of Parkinson can have dementia, but not necessarily all Parkinson will have dementia. These are two different things. Parkinson with dementia is slightly a different disorder. So it is like, see, dementia is basically that umbrella term, the cluster of cognitive impairment and memory loss. So not necessarily that Parkinson is dementia. Parkinson with dementia can be one. So it differentiates that. I think I'll just repeat it, that not every Parkinson case will have dementia. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Next question is from Rakesh. Is there any survey finding correlating mind games like puzzles, chess to prevent the occurrence of dementia and Alzheimer's, etc.?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like basically all these activities that you're saying, these come under brain games or brain activity. So doing these brain stimulating activities can help to prevent dementia. So in the prevention list, there was something, I think, learn new things, right? So you learn new language, you learn new activity. So your brain is getting stimulated where it was not being used. So activity suddenly, you say, very different language you picked up. So your brain till now was not using that region of it, and now it is getting stimulated. So likewise, when you do these brain games or brain activities, there's a lot of stimulation, and to some extent it will prevent. That doesn't mean that, you just do brain activities and you don't look after your health. So it is all clubbed together. But yes, brain activities, there is a correlation that it will prevent dementia. But I can't quote an exact study right now, but I know it is there.
The next question is from Rohini. Is post-COVID, uh, is there an increase in the cases of dementia after COVID? And is there any connection between corona and dementia as such?
Uh, I think there is a lot of studies going on. I haven't come across which very significantly says it. But yes, there is some sort of a relation with COVID because a lot of these virals will have some, effect on brain, and a lot of neuro pathology did uh, took place while, like, that in COVID viral. So I'm just trying to recall. I think yes, there are studies published where there are certain studies which stated that post-COVID people may, not all, but some people may have a tendency towards neuro disorders. But I really need to look into to quote more here. Yes.
The next question is from Damodar P. Sharma. What are the tests to diagnose dementia? What are the test names?
Okay. So there are multiple diagnosis, there are multiple tests. Now these tests can be, as I mentioned, paper pen test. So there is something called HMSC, which is mini mental health, mini mental state examination. And then there is MOCA, Montreal examination. So like that, there are these tools. These are paper pen tests that are used. There's something called Edinburgh also. And so based on these neuropsychological assessment, a psychologist generally will make a report. So these are reports, these are paper pen tests, and these are the tools that are used. Based on this report, it goes back to the doctor, to the concerned doctor. And based on that report, they will then further, get MRI or a CT scan or some blood test done. So it is like it is multiple things that come together to get a diagnosis.
The next question is from Veeraja. Can a person diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder is more at a risk of suffering from dementia as the autoimmune disease progresses?
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Can a person diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder more susceptible to suffering from dementia as the disease progresses?
That's a tricky one. It is, I think it based on a very individual that what is happening exactly as, for the brain pathology and how it's developing. Not necessary that everybody will have dementia, or not necessary that all the autoimmune will convert into, they are progressive in themselves. But if somebody is developing some pathology in brain or some atrophy in brain, there's a possibility, yes, but not necessarily all.
Ma'am, is there any basic qualification required for nursing someone with dementia or taking care of someone with dementia? Is there a course or?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. So in our country, there is not like a very specific qualification required, to be honest, because there are very, very few professionals in this field, and there's a dearth for having more professionals. Not that there is a qualification required, but generally to work in this field, there has to be a good amount of experience working with elderly in elder care and say palliative care, or especially talking with respect to nursing, right? So it's more like palliative care, elder care. Most of the time, people working in the field of dementia, they are highly trained in dementia care because it's really very different from other disorders. So it is not probably in other countries, developed countries, they may need a proper qualification as a dementia certification or something. Whereas in India right now, we don't need any specific qualification. But once a person is absorbed in the field, yes, they are trained a lot by the respective organization.
Thank you for the reply. I'm going to unmute Mr. Damodar P. Sharma for the next question. Hello, sir. Just a second. Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon to choosing this, topic. And, it is a fact that a very few people know about these things. And it is considered as a stigma to go to the psychiatrist, etc. It is a very interesting topic. I would like to know that in my own case, in 94, I met with a, road accident, collision of the two buses, head-on collision of the two buses in 94. And during those days, CT scan was not, very this was available. And at that time, I recall after this, though so many people died, higher. So I recall I was lost my memory. Even I was not able to tell who was I. First, I recall and told, that policeman collected us from the highway, etc. And that I recall those days whenever I saw the buses, driving. I'm from Delhi. After that, that many things I lost, and many days when person used to, visit me, saying, I would not able to call their name and tell my wife to note down coming down, just like, waves.
Yeah. Yes.
After this, came back.
Yeah.
But still I recall the certain thing, I'm a postgraduate from Delhi, retired officer. And I have gone that trauma and slowly, slowly came back. Then started driving. I used to go, then suddenly forget, see the person who is this. And sometime person used to tell, what happened? This gentleman could not recognize these or something.
So,
That
sir,
says,
how's your memory now, right?
Madam, I'm coming to topic that, memory person, I'm a retired officer, came back. The memory loss done at that time was relating to this one, numerical figures.
Okay.
Suddenly you ask, I am not, that I have gone through, I'm sharing my experiences. But as regarding that, suddenly people advise me that you take this, I took medicine, Mentate. It shows Himalaya good result. Now sometime, I'm coming to the topic, I'm facing this, forgetfulness. Then I recall,
Yeah, you're facing memory loss now?
Sometimes I was saying you though that
Yeah. So I would suggest, okay, I get your point. So see, probably after a accident, if there is a head injury, maybe that was like you developed amnesia and then you recovered it with your treatment and interventions. But now, after so many years, if you still have a doubt that there is a memory loss, I suggest highly that you go and see a neurologist. And you can just say that it looks like a memory loss, and probably then they will ask for these paper pen tests, and that will give a lot of idea that is it really the concerning memory loss, or is it like a very usual normal memory loss, right? So I would suggest that you see a neurologist first, and
Thanks, ma'am.
yeah, that will help. But do not delay in case if you think that you really need attention. But sometimes it is like, we also think that, am I forgetting? And of course, because of age and all. So sometimes we also worry about it. So it's better to get a checkup done. See, every year, or I'm sure like every now and then you are doing a medical checkup, or sometimes people do annual checkup. So this should become a part of your annual checkup, especially after 65 and 60s, that you are going to a neurologist in case if you have a doubt that there is some sort of a memory impairment or memory issues, right? So,
Madam, one more thing.
yes.
Neurologist, I get it. And as well as, CT scan or MRI can lead at this stage?
So it is the best will be the neurologist to suggest you. Do you really need it or not? But maybe they will suggest for paper pen test. And you should get that first done rather than just jumping for MRIs and CT scan. It will be the neurologist who will decide that what should be the evaluation for you.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay.
Most welcome, sir.
Thank you for interacting, sir. There's a question from Subhashi Ghosh. It's a very direct medicine name question. Revastigmine and memantine or donepezil, which is better?
Okay, so first thing, I'm a psychologist and I'm not going to comment anything on the medicines. Your doctor would be the best person to decide on the medicines. So sorry, I'm not the right person to answer this.
Another question from Rakesh. It's relating to difference in symptoms between Alzheimer's and dementia.
I'm sorry, come again?
Difference in symptoms between Alzheimer and dementia.
All right. So dementia is basically the name of the disorder. Okay. It is the umbrella term or basically a global term used for define a disorder which has memory loss, cognitive impairment. So there's a lot of things that will fall under that dementia umbrella. And Alzheimer's is one disease that falls under it. So for clarity, dementia is the common disorder or the common name that is used, whereas Alzheimer is a very particular disease. So Alzheimer will have very particular set of symptoms which falls under the cluster of dementia. So it just overlaps the symptoms, most of them. And Alzheimer is like, it will also have memory loss. It will have a lot of repetition, disorientation. So it is to just give you the idea. It's one and the same. It's just that dementia is a bigger, umbrella, and Alzheimer's comes under it. Yeah.
So Alzheimer's is a subset of dementia, but dementia is not a subset of Alzheimer's.
Yes. Okay. So in a layman way, I generally explain this to people that somebody has fever. So you will ask them that why are you having fever? Do you have malaria? Do you have typhoid? Do you have something viral? So somebody has dementia. Why does someone has dementia? Is it Alzheimer's disease? It is frontotemporal disease or some other disease? So it is a symptom. It's a set of symptoms caused by these diseases like Alzheimer's, frontotemporal, and other vascular and so on.
There's a question from Nurul. Can coconut oil really cure dementia?
I love this question and I really appreciate you asking this. I think every month I reply the same thing. Please do not go by this. I know there is a lot of videos. There's a lot of every conference we will have this debate about the coconut oil. Personally, from my practice, I have seen more negative effects of consuming plain coconut oil, especially for dementia patient. And I remember this very well. One of our client whose family decided to try the coconut oil, and they had, so the patient had very severe constipation, was hospitalized, and eventually it was terminal. So it is very debatable thing, coconut oil, how is work. But just think about it, like, will you consume coconut oil plain? What are the negative effects of it? So I have not come across any positive effects so far. And to be honest, personally, I do not recommend it because it is not evidence-based. No research has been done so far. I know there is a YouTube video which claims it to be so and so. There's a very high possibility that that particular video person had a reversible kind of dementia which got treated. So in the last 10 years of my practice, I have never seen coconut oil curing dementia or any other thing curing dementia unless and until it is a reversible kind. I hope that helps.
Ma'am, I have a question from my side. Do things like chanting, breathing exercises, and doing religious rituals and things like that, do they help with dementia? Do they help build a strong memory or anything like that? Like,
Okay, so when you talk about religion, chanting, or meditation, yoga, see, these are all, they all somewhere come under the brain exercises or help, these elicit positiveness in you. So probably, yes, to some extent, yes, but it is again, it's like you just do only this and you don't take care of your health, then it's not going to work. But it definitely has positive effect. So yes, to prevent also, and at the time, like in the early stages, we recommend if people are able to do yoga and breathing exercises, we highly recommend it because it definitely helps to, in a lot of, to calm down the person and to slow down the progression to some extent.
thank you. A question from Lohit. Ma'am, if someone takes about 18 to 19 sleeping pills, depression medicines, back in the end of 2019, can it cause dementia? I am very much forgetful, unable to communicate well, aggressive sometimes, etc.
Okay, I would suggest, it's very difficult to say anything over a webinar like this. I suggest that please see a doctor. Maybe you can start with a neurologist, or it depends on whatever doctor you prefer to go. But it is not that some medicines, see, it depends all that if you're having some memory issues, doesn't mean that it is dementia always. It can be some reversible causes also. So it's better to have a word with the doctor and, get an answer for this. If you're on medication, maybe you should get the medication also reviewed by the doctor itself. If you're feeling that, see, the thing is that very few doctors will understand dementia. So maybe you need to reach out to the professionals who are trained into it or who are at least practicing in this field. That should help.
Thank you. Uh, Moving on to the last question, I think. Are It's from Swati. Are forgetfulness and absent-mindedness also related to dementia? Are they like any early symptoms?
See, I think nowadays it's like we all forget. Nowadays, why I'm saying nowadays, because we all are highly stressed. Our lifestyle, everything is in such a state where they're constantly thinking of things. So there is memory loss, there is forgetfulness in normal people also, and it could be because of multiple reasons. So maybe someone who is in their 20s, 30s will also have like memory loss, so that we need to, or forgetfulness. Now, these are slightly two different things which overlaps. Forgetfulness is that, okay, I forgot where I kept my book, but when I try to recall, I'm able to. Whereas in dementia, someone can't do that because he can't retrace that I had a book. What about a book? I don't know what is a book. So that's the dementia response. Forgetfulness can be caused due to multiple reasons. It could be health issues, it could be mental health issues also, or some deficiency, or very high stress. So we need to see that what is exactly causing the forgetfulness. And it is not, see, dementia, as I said, memory loss, forgetfulness is only the tip of iceberg. There's a whole set of symptoms. That's why we always say that it is a disorder with a set of cognitive impairment, including memory loss, and memory loss always tips it, like on top of it. But there are other things also, judgment, disorientation, behaviors, and all. So we need to, identify that is it only just forgetfulness, or there are other things associated with it. I hope that helps.
I've got two more questions. The next one is from Sushma. Is there any study of performing arts to be beneficial for the slowing of dementia?
Slowing of dementia as in someone who is already diagnosed or pre? Okay, so answer to both is yes, because they are cognitive activities, they are cognitive stimulations. So it will help to prevent to some extent. And of course, in case like, the therapies that we provide for people with dementia at the center also, we do a lot of arts and crafts, and there's a lot of music or arts related other interventions that are done. But always remember that when I'm talking about interventions for people with dementia, that doesn't mean that you give the entire set of all the interventions to one person. That's why you need to always consider the individual, the person-centered approach, where not two people are same. So maybe someone really enjoys art, or maybe someone just doesn't like art. So in that case, you can't do that intervention with the person with dementia. Then it is more like a burden, and it is causing more negative effects. So you have to be careful what what is their background and what is their liking and current abilities. And then you can definitely do interventions of art therapy and other therapies for the person with dementia. And for prevention, you have a choice. If you really like arts, then yes, it will help. But then it is not like just one factor, right? There are multiple other factors also that contribute towards like manifesting of dementia.
The next question is from Nurul. Can there be physical symptoms like headache?
Sorry?
Can there be symptoms like headache, like physical
For
symptoms
dementia?
like, yeah?
No. No, it is more cognitive. It is, I mean, I have never heard of someone complaining. The headache could be related to some other thing, but not for cognitive impairment. It will be definitely have some other reason why a headache is there, but not for dementia specifically.
Ma'am, can learning a new language help?
Yes, it does. As I just mentioned, because learning new language, learning new skill, a lot of people are, say, right-handed. If you try like even left-handed, you're using the part of brain that you have never used. So that is brain exercise for you, and it always helps. Of course, to prevent dementia also, but also for a normal well-being also, that you should always have an activity where you are engrossed other than our daily life. So pick up an activity. It can be a skill, art, sports, anything. Make sure that you are engrossed into it. We have a lot of we used to talk a lot about hobbies when we were young. I don't think so that word is lost somewhere nowadays. People don't talk about hobbies, and those are those things that actually help to prevent dementia. And if someone has dementia, it helps as an intervention. So we need to somewhere spend time on our hobbies, which is a well-being for ourselves, for a well-being for our brain. So it can be a learning new language or anything that you like, or a lot of crochets or the stitching, anything. It can be, or art or music, anything that you like to do. Yeah.
Another question from Lohit, who was talking about the medicinal pills earlier. Ma'am, how to stop procrastinating habit of my mind? I'm just 21.
That's a big question. Yeah. Well, there are a lot of ways to stop procrastinating, but there is always a reason why somebody procrastinates. It is not that they are just lazy. It is, I think lazy is not the right word when we say about procrastination. There is generally a reason why we are not doing a certain task. For example, like maybe helping people do an activity, maybe at home or going out. So generally the brain will start reasoning it that they are going to judge me, they're going to think about me, maybe I'm not capable of doing this activity. So there is generally a background why we procrastinate. So if you understand the cause, and when you try to work out that how to come out of that particular feeling, that will help you not procrastinate. Yeah.
A question from Rana K. Is having forgetfulness, absent-mindedness, and some psychological issues like irritability, tension at the age of 32, can it be dementia?
So see, there are cases with dementia in 30s also, in but there is generally a biological cause why someone in a very early stage will have. Maybe someone is really someone having diabetes for long years or some other medical condition. But see, that's the thing. We need to understand it very well when we say dementia, right? For example, like, nowadays, even small children will say that, hey, I'm so depressed. Yeah. So that word from clinical, it has become like a common word. So we need to understand that all these things that you have listed, forgetfulness, absent-minded, or some psychological issues also, are they actually clinical or are they just mental well-being? So there is a difference between mental well-being and mental illness. And maybe if we explore a little bit more, read about we will understand it. But if you really think that you've been having issues with forgetfulness and other cognitive abilities for more than 6 months or a year, it's better to go to a doctor and discuss that. Is it dementia? But generally, in that younger age, it's not dementia. And especially, you see, if someone is sitting in this webinar and typing it so well, it can't be dementia. Yeah, but better that you see a doctor if you have symptoms.
The next question: schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, can they be connected to dementia?
They're very different disorders, all of them, like schizophrenia, bipolar, and dementia. So they can overlap to some extent. Like dementia will have a lot of psychological issues that I said in the second stage or in moderate stage, people will have behavioral and psychological issues. They may, so there's a very high psychological and behavioral challenges in dementia. There is not exactly like a very significant correlation. I'm not sure about the research, but then there are three different disorders altogether. So not necessary that schizophrenia will have dementia or bipolar will have. These are very different things. There can be an overlap, but then that will be a very rare.
Thank you for taking so much time and answering all the questions so wonderfully. Ma'am, I'd like to request you to join a breakout room link that's going to pop up really soon. Just before exiting, I'm going to mention the viewers, please do take a moment to subscribe to WishwaTalks to get alerts on every new and exciting WishwaTalks, exclusive events, and access to the Wishwa community. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn for future updates. Do follow ARDSI as well on Instagram and keep updated with their future events. Please do not forget to subscribe to WishwaTalks. I'll see you next week on 21st at 11 a.m. IST. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, WishwaTalk, and thank you all the participants for keenly listening and such a wonderful question and answer session. Really appreciate. I hope that you have got some idea about dementia by now. Thank you again. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much. Can you press the link that Preeti has sent?
Yeah,
I'll be there with you in a minute.